What's up guys, my name is Allison. For today's video I wanted to sit down and go through my weekly makeup bag. So this might sound crazy to those of you who religiously use the same products every day and don't really have much makeup and just use the same things, but I love trying new makeup and experimenting and comparing things. So honestly I have a bunch of products that I haven't gotten a lot of use out of if they weren't something that like I immediately loved upon like first application and ended up reaching for again and again, and ends up getting pushed to the side. And I don't really know if it's like a good product for me or a bad product for me, but this like weekly makeup bag series is an effort for me to get familiar with my makeup and figure out what I like, and if I don't like it then just get rid of it. At first I wasn't sure if a week was going to be long enough, but you would be surprised at how quickly I actually kind of got bored of the makeup that I had put aside and wanted to like experiment with other things, try new things, and overall I just feel like it's a really great learning experience. So this is the bag of makeup that I was using for the past week. I am wearing it all on my face and I recorded clips of myself applying it, so I'll be sharing those throughout the video. But yeah, let's just get started. Okay, so the base product I didn't actually use for the entire week. I got this in the mail early in the week from Ulta, and it's a new base product that I wanted to try out. It's the NYX Bear With Me Tinted Skin Veil. I'm actually going to have a full dedicated review to this product. And honestly, I think my makeup and my complexion look pretty good right now, but I will say that throughout the week, I pretty much formed my opinion that this isn't my favorite product. I mentioned in my 2019 skincare makeup favorites that the Bourjois Healthy Mix Serum Foundation is my favorite, and I do prefer that one over this one. It's honestly just because of my skin type and my preference, but the Bourjois foundation is a lot more dewy and hydrating on the skin, and it also has more coverage than this one, so I don't have to use as much product. With this one I have to squeeze out quite a bit of product, which makes me feel like I would go through this pretty quickly. However, I do think it's a great product, especially if you have skin that's not as dry as mine, or you prefer something that's not as dewy and you want something that has light coverage but evens out the skin tone really well. I would highly recommend trying this out because I do think it does look very natural on the skin. I also noticed that this product wears pretty well, and in general, while I was like testing out this makeup, I felt like I was a lot more conscious of like how the makeup was wearing and how it was applying, just because I was using the makeup over and over and I really wanted to get a good understanding of how it performed and like compare it to other products that I really like. So yeah, that's it for the base product. For under eye concealer, I didn't try anything new. I'm still using my favorite Tarte Creaseless concealer. This concealer is really dewy and it has good coverage, so I really like this one. For blemishes though, I found a concealer that I had in my stash, and it's a Korean concealer. It's by the brand Saem, and I think this is called the Perfect Tip Concealer. I used to love this concealer and used to use it all the time, but I used to have the shade 1.5, and I noticed that that one would oxidize a little bit and be too dark and orangey for my skin tone. So when I went to Korea in early last year, I picked up this one in the shade 1.25, but I started using it again because I felt like I was having trouble concealing these couple of spots that I have on my face, and oh my god, this liquid concealer is the best concealer that I've ever tried at covering blemishes. It's very, very full coverage, and you just need a dot and just tap it in super lightly and blend it out, and it just covers the spot. I had given up on thinking that liquid concealers would be able to cover stubborn hyperpigmentation, but this one is a savior. For powder, I'm still trying to finish up my Hourglass translucent veil powder. Again, it's like kind of a hassle to try to get this little bit of powder out, but I do really like the formula on this one. On days when I like didn't have enough time to try to finesse the powder out of this, I was using the Glossier Wowder. I do like that powder, but I feel like there were a couple of times where maybe I grabbed too much powder, but it was looking pretty dry and cakey on my skin. But again, my skin is like super dry. After a bit of translucent powder on some of the spots that I conceal and a little bit under my eyes, I continued with my routine of going in with the J.Cat Aquasurance Powder Foundation. I always like to do this to add a little bit more coverage in the cheeks, just kind of set it so that bronzer and stuff glide on more easily. I will say that this past week I feel like I noticed this area of my cheeks like getting a little bit more dry and cakey. I don't know if it's the powder foundation or just because it's been like extra dry and my skin gets like weirdly textured when I'm cold. So now that I've rediscovered the concealer that will cover the spots, I'm gonna see if I can like get away with using less of this powder or not needing it at all. For filling in the brows, I'm sticking with my favorite Shu Uemura eyebrow pencil, but this time I wanted to focus on using this Benefit Gimme Brow Gel. I bought this forever ago and I like wanted to compare it to the Boy Brow. I do like it. I feel like it's very comparable to Boy Brow. I will say like the packaging isn't my favorite. It's like just very slight, but I feel like this little cap is a little bit more uncomfortable to twist off and like a little bit harder to. It's also like kind of hard to grab because it like tapers, so it's kind of hard to get like a nice grip on the brush. Like the Boy Brow, I feel like it does apply a little bit too much product or it gets on my skin sometimes, but overall I like the color. I feel like it does hold my brows in place pretty nicely all day. For eyeshadow, I wanted to get some use out of this new Peach Sea palette that I got from YesStyle like a month or two ago. This one looks a lot like the 3CE palettes, especially the one in Overtake. I picked this one up because I thought it was going to be like the more everyday version of the Overtake palette. The tones are a bit more neutral and more brown. The colors are really pretty, but I will say that I was expecting the palette overall to be a lot more neutral toned than it is. This one definitely leans on the more rosy side, which is still really pretty. I feel like the color of the palette kind of throws off my like color perception, and so even if I feel like something looks a bit more cool toned in the pan, it applies a lot more warmly than I was expecting. I would say especially for these two browns, like I think this one looks pretty neutral, but when I put it on the eyes, it's quite warm. And then I was hoping this one would be a nice deep shimmery brown, but this one also looks pretty rosy and has some like pink glitter in it. So I did get a little bit bored of this and wanted to reach for like some different tones, but overall, I would say this is a very versatile palette. Korean eyeshadows tend to be not very pigmented, but I feel like the pigment on this one is also quite good. I feel like the mattes blend pretty well. The only thing is that I feel like the shimmers are a bit sheer than I would like, especially this pink one here. I feel like I can't really get it to show up as much as I want it to. Throughout the week, I was watching a lot of videos with like a bunch of glittery makeup, and I really wanted to use something on my eyes with a bit more impact. So I picked out the KAJA Beauty Bento. I have the Orange Blossom shade and I really like that one and got a lot of use out of that in like the spring and summer. But during the VIB sale, I decided to pick up Toasted Caramel as well. The only shade that throws me off in this one is the lightest one. I feel like this gold is just like so yellow and not really my favorite. The other two are colors that I love and always gravitate towards. This one is a really nice golden brown, and then this one is a nice warmer chocolatey brown. But I'm happy with the amount of use that I got out of it this week, and I'm glad that I pulled it out. Even the first shade I was able to use, and I really liked how the looks came out when I used this. For eyeliner, nothing really special. I am continuing to use the M Cosmetics brush tip liner. I have it in brown, and I think it's a nice color. It's a little bit darker than I would like. I feel like it looks essentially black on my lids, but I still think this is a great eyeliner in general. I'm just gonna keep working through it until I finish it up. For mascara, I decided to focus on the Kiss Me Heroine Volume and Curl Advanced Film one. I did actually use the super waterproof volume and curl one throughout the week as well, just to like kind of compare them, and I honestly can't really differentiate them even with like the waterproofness. Both of them are like pretty difficult to remove. I'm wearing the Advanced Film one today. I feel like my mascara application really varies depending on like how much time I take and how well I curl my lashes. I do feel like this one tends to be more on the lengthening side, whereas the other one is a bit more buildable and volume. Oh, something I did notice is that with the difference in the shape of the wand, this one is like curved and like upwards, whereas the other one is more of like a conical shape. I feel like when I use this one, I don't get mascara on my eyelids as often as that one. So I feel like this one lets me apply the mascara without getting so close to my eyelid. Okay, so let's move on to face products. I don't have any lip products because I honestly don't wear lip products on a daily basis. I have a new bronzer that I wanted to try out. Honestly, I probably shouldn't be buying a new bronzer. It's just because I feel like I'm kind of bored of the ones that I currently have. But I've heard so many people rave about the Maybelline City Bronzer, especially in their end of year favorites. I got mine in the shade 200 because that's what was recommended. I'm not sure if the shade 100 is like exceptionally light. This is something that I'm still undecided on, and I do think I have to keep using. I really like the finish on this powder actually. It's not completely matte, but there's no shimmer in it whatsoever, so it doesn't look completely flat, but it doesn't like emphasize any texture or anything like that. I think the color looks pretty good on camera. This bronzer color is definitely more yellow toned, but I feel like the color in certain lighting didn't look that great on me. In terms of wear time, I don't think this wore particularly well or anything, but bronzer is usually the first thing that goes for me, especially because I like rest my hands on my face a lot. Let me know how you think it looks and if you try this bronzer or not. For blush, I wanted to pull out a blush that everyone has constantly raved about, and it's the Buxom Wanderlust blush. Mine is in the shade Seychelles, and honestly after a week of using this, I didn't fall in love with it or anything. It does have a nice smooth pretty sheen to it, kind of similar to the Maybelline bronzer where there isn't any like shimmer particles at all, but it does just have a nice sheen to it, so it looks nice on the skin. However, I personally prefer the effect that like my MAC Extra Dimension blushes give me. The sheen on those is stronger and actually makes more of a difference. That probably just has to do with like the amount of product that I apply, since I don't wear a ton of blush in general. The color is okay, but I did find myself wanting to use other blushes instead. So I don't know if I should like keep this blush. I feel like it's a good one, and especially because a lot of the blushes that I tend to keep are more peachy, this is probably like a good color to have. But yeah, I mean, hopefully I can get some more use out of it. For highlighter, I wanted to pull out an oldie but a goodie, the Mary Lou Manizer by the Balm. I've had this thing for years. It's like the first highlighter that I ever purchased, and it honestly is really good. But I just feel like more and more these days I'm not gravitating towards super intense powdery highlights, because I just feel like no matter how good they are, they look powdery on the skin, and anything that it's intense usually has a bit of shimmer in it, and that just doesn't look as flattering on any texture. I don't have a lot of texture, but I don't think it looks super flattering on me. That being said, I really like this highlighter. I think it looks really nice today, especially on days where I'm wearing like a full face of makeup and I like to do my eye makeup and it's like a little bit more dramatic. I think this highlighter is super pretty. But for that perfect natural kind of makeup look that I am striving for nowadays, this doesn't really fit the bill. I think I'm gonna keep holding on to this, but I think I'm gonna start going through and kind of purging my more intense powder highlights. Okay, that covers all of the makeup in my bag. I really like doing this exercise, and I am excited to curate next week's bag. I think for me especially, it's really important to be super diligent about using the things that I purchase and figuring out what I really like and why, because all this information is just gonna help me be a more conscious and intentional consumer. And even if I like makeup and I like trying new things, it doesn't feel great to be overwhelmed with so many different products. Let me know if there's anything that you'd like to see me use in particular in one of my weekly makeup bags. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.